Hey everyone, so for this week's Shadow Saturday video, I'm going to be using the colored Raine Queen of Hearts palette. This is beautiful packaging, and the actual palette is like a matte black, and it's really simple and sleek. So this is what the palette looks like. It's more of a neutral palette, and I did get this off of Poshmark. This is one of my newer palettes, and it was pretty much brand new when I got it. It had very little use on it. As you can see, I've already done my face, so we're just going to go ahead and get straight into the eyes. I just moved a little bit closer so you guys can see, and the first shade we're going to go into is this very light shade right here called Air, and this is almost my skin tone, but it's probably a shade darker. So this is just going to act sort of as a transition shade and also just to kind of set the primer down. So this does show up, but not too intensely, as it's probably only one shade darker than my skin tone. But this is just going to be good as our transition shade to blend everything else into each other. And I'm not really being too careful with this shade as it's so light you can't really mess it up. Next, I'm going to go into this shade right here called Princess. This is more of a mauve color. And I'm going to take just that same fluffy blending brush. And I'm also going to put this in my crease, more focusing. I'm being a little bit more precise with this, focusing it just in the crease. These matte shades are really pigmented and they do blend pretty easily. Next, I'm going to take this shade called Duchess. And I'm going to take that on a little bit smaller of a fluffy blending brush. And I'm going to focus this more precisely in my crease. So I'm keeping this just a little bit lower than that previous shade we put down. And I'm also blending this a little bit onto the outer corner. And then I'm just going to go in with that transition shade brush and just blend that all out. Make sure there's no harsh edges. Do you guys get this issue where one eye blends perfectly and then the other one ends up patchy? I don't know if it's my skin or what it is, but this eye always gives me difficulty. It's like right here on this outer corner, it just always becomes patchy, no matter what eyeshadow I use. Next, I'm gonna go into this purpley pink shade right here called Ladyship. Sorry for the reflection on this palette, it's just hard to avoid that. I'm gonna put that on the outer corner and also blend it a little bit into the crease. And then again, I'm going to take that transition shade brush and just blend that out. And I am doing a cut crease today, so I'm just going to take a little flat brush with a little bit of concealer. And so I put that on my lid and then I look up to get exactly where my crease is right there. And so I just go up to that line right there. So I have to get really close to the mirror, so I'll do this off camera. And I am going to do this one eye at a time just so that the concealer doesn't dry and the eyeshadow will actually stick to it. So I'm going to go in with this shade right here called Royal Highness. And I'm going to take that. I'm actually going to use a brush for this. Normally I would use my finger, but I'm going to take that on a little flat brush. And I'm going to pack that all over where we just put that concealer. And I'm using a brush just so that I can be more precise and get right into that inner corner. I actually am gonna just take my finger and put it on the center of the lid where the biggest portion is, and then I'm gonna take the brush just to get right up to that edge. So I'm just gonna go do that with the other eye and then I'll be right back. Now the reason I don't do cut creases very often is because my eyes are two different shapes. This one is a lot more hooded, so it's hard to get them to look even. But now for the outer portion of the lid to blend that metallic shade into the outer corner, I'm going to use this shade right here called Noble Woman. And I'm just going to take that on my finger and I'm going to pack that right where the outer corner kind of meets that metallic color we put on the lid. And I'm just going to blend that into it. So I'm kind of just starting at where that cut crease ends and just blending that in. And I might take a little bit more of that Royal Highness color we put on the lid with a different finger and use that to kind of go back and forth between the two to make sure it's really blended and there's no harsh lines. You could also use a brush for this if you wanted to, if you didn't want to get your fingers dirty. I just like using my finger because I think it gets the most payoff with that metallic formula. Now this metallic formula, you really don't need to wet it. It's really metallic and foiled just on its own. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the other eye. Now I'm going to move on to the bottom lash line, and I'm going to go in with this little kind of flat brush. And I'm going to use this shade right here called Ladyship. Now I'm going to go onto my lower lash line, and I'm going to use this shade right here called Ladyship. And I'm going to take that on a little flat brush. And I'm just going to pack that right onto the lower lash line. And I'm just keeping this on the outer half. I'm not going all the way into the inner corner. And then I'm just going to take that little fluffy blending brush we used in with that deep shade, and I'm going to put a little bit of the transition shade called Princess on it, and just mixing it in with whatever's left over on that brush because we had the deep shade on that. And I'm just going to blend out the lower lash. I can't speak. I'm just going to blend out the lower lashes, the lower lash line with that. So for my inner corner highlight and also my brow bone, I'm going to go in with this shade right here called Crown. And this is a really pretty metallic duochrome color. And I'm going to take that on a little pencil brush. And I'm going to put some of that right on my inner corner. And then also my brow bone. And this can be super intense, so I'm just taking the tiniest little bit. I think a brown liner would look really pretty with this, so I'm going to take this ColourPop, this is super old and I don't know the name, but it's just from ColourPop and it's their brown liner. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the upper waterline. Okay, so now I'm just going to go off camera and do my mascara and then also fill in my brows, and I'll be right back. So that's it for the eyes. Here's an up close look. So that's it for today's look. I really love the way this turned out. I really don't do many cut creases, so this was fun to experiment with. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.